Welcome to Heartbeat, the Highlands Ranch podcast. Heartbeat is brought to you by Freedle and Associates, a heartfelt real estate company with 25 years of helping you find your place. I'm your host, Jake Freedle. My guest today is Nikki Brooker, who is an incredible woman who is doing wonderful things for the world of women and moms here in Highlands Ranch. She's the founder of Yana, or You Are Not Alone, which is a peer-led support group for new moms. And I cannot wait to share her story and what she's up to with you. Enjoy. Hey, good morning. I'm here today with Nikki Brooker, the founder and CEO of Yana, which is You Are Not Alone, a nonprofit in Highlands Ranch that helps moms to feel more connected in community and tons of other things. Nikki, thanks so much for being on today.
Hey, Jake. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. We're both very excited to be here. So start me off. Tell me, how did you get here? And tell us the story of how Yana got started.
So Yana was created after two local moms here in Highlands Ranch actually took both of their lives and the lives of their kids. It was back in 2016 and 2017. And I had been a teacher for over 20 years, planned to teach forever. But then these two, real big events happened in our community that really kind of rocked my world. And I thought, wow, this can't be okay. This can't be how we're going to handle motherhood. And I was weirdly connected to both moms. I didn't know them personally, but Jennifer Labor picked up her two kids from my kids' elementary school, Bear Canyon Elementary, where I was actually teaching at the time. And she shot and killed both of them and herself in her family minivan. And most people, when I tell that story, they go, oh yeah, the Sports Authority one. And I'm like, yep, that's the one. It's now a Hobby Lobby, but it was a Sports Authority. And it was, it just rocked me in a way that I can't describe. And as I'm walking around the building of that elementary school that day, helping out, the sixth grade boy walked in and he had just found out what had happened the next morning and he was just bawling. And I said, hey buddy, how are you? And he said, Ethan was my reading buddy. How am I supposed to be okay with the fact that his mom murdered him? And then as I walked him to the counseling center and he asked me, he said, how do I know if my mom's going to kill me tonight? And it just broke me. Wow. And I said, okay, all right, we're going to have to figure something out that this doesn't happen again. And then it did happen again in February of 2017. Another mom took her life and the life of her 10-year-old daughter. And that 10-year-old little girl was best friends with one of my girlfriend's daughters. So then I saw it from her side of things. And to watch this 10-year-old just lose faith in her world. And, this was a woman that she trusted and she spent the night at her house and she called her, was like a second mom to her. And then she murdered her best friend. So that's when I threw my hands in the air, said, we got to do something. And Yana was created. It's an incredibly, really cool story that maybe someday we'll do a whole podcast just on that. But it was literally landed in my lap. I had a 501c3, a location, and money in the bank to get started. That was literally handed to me. And that's when I knew it was meant to be. And we created a support system for moms. It was loosely based on the AA model. So we'd have gatherings and play dates for the moms to come together. And then we offer every mom a support mom. Now, because of the pandemic and things changing up, we have changed a little bit, but we still give every mom that support mom if they want one. So that's a service we offer to anyone, anywhere. So if you have listeners out there who are alone in their mothering journey, don't have support here, don't have family in the area, or maybe they do have family in the area and that's not the right supports, we offer any mom anywhere a support mom, and they can do that by going to our website at yanamom.com. But then also, if you have listeners out there who are like, oh my gosh, I want to really support another mom, we are always asking for more volunteers to be support moms as well. So same place, yanamom.com, and you can go to the volunteer section. But then, we started a new program, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But that's where I think we're really going to change the world one mama at a time, giving the moms the support they deserve.
Mm. And so I love this idea of the Alcoholics Anonymous structure. And so tell me, what do you think it does for a mom to not only go through the process, but then to be asked to support other moms?
So it's funny because when I first started this nonprofit and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I literally put it out on my Facebook page and I was like, help. Like, I can't open the news and watch this happen anymore. I assume there are others out there who felt the same way. And my Facebook was just flooded with all my friends saying, oh my gosh, let's do this. Oh my gosh, let's do that. And so when we started it, I said, I have to like talk to other nonprofit, CEOs or founders and try to figure out what this looks like. Jake, I didn't even know what a nonprofit was. I couldn't have told you what the definition of 501c3 was. And so I was really flying blind. But when I talked to other nonprofit people, we talked about the AA model. And I was like, you're right. The AA model has been working. It works. It creates a community. It gives people purpose. It allows them to be in a room full of people who get them, as opposed to feeling judged or feeling ashamed. And of course, when you have an issue like AA or NA or any of those, you obviously have all of those feelings. But the last place you want to feel them is in a room full of people who have gone through it too, right? And so that's kind of when I was like, yeah, that's, we have all this mom guilt that comes with being a mom. And it's one of those things that is so hard to explain until you're a mom, that it just is an automatic thing when you're responsible for someone else's life. And in our groups, we're all about making moms feel safe, valued, and accepted. Like, you shouldn't, that mom guilt's always going to be there, but we try to put a minimum to it and say, it's okay. It's okay to not feel like you're doing everything right. It's okay to not have a clue what you're doing. You're not supposed to. This is new to you, right? This is, whether it's your first baby, your second baby, or third baby, you weren't a mom of two with a newborn at home ever before. So yes, you were a mom to the other two, but that's different, right? Every one of them is different. So it's giving them that opportunity to not only feel supported, but then after they kind of get their feet wet and kind of get what they're doing, they go, oh my gosh, I have so much wisdom to share with other moms. And now I can be one of those support people too. So it's a full circle thing. It's just like when you're in the AA program and you come in brand new and you're day one of sobriety. And then at day 365, you're like, you know what? I can help another person now. I feel like I'm rooted in this, right? So it's all about giving people back what they get, right? As soon as you get, I'm one of those people that if I get something, I want to give. And I just think that's part of the program as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm reminded of anytime my wife has been pregnant, what we find is that other women will come out and share their horror stories of pregnancy, of labor, of everything. And it's like they're getting this opportunity to work it out. It's not really an appropriate time or place, right? Like, you're telling this woman who's pregnant, who's about to go through it, like, well, let me tell you everything that can go wrong with me. And let me just put that all on you over there, right?
Right.
Good idea?
Yeah.
But it does, we chose to look at it as like, okay, we're going to shield ourselves from this, but make space for these women to kind of relive and process their trauma, because you can't stop it. It's like a waterfall.
It is. Totally.
That's beautiful. And, the first iteration of a men's group I ever ran, I called it Men Anonymous.
Oh, I love that.
It was okay. It was a great idea, and it worked out. And I think it was a really safe space for men to come. And it was an exhausting thing. Running men's groups is like herding cats.
Sure is.
Let's get back to Yana, though. So tell me, how are you continuing to grow as an organization and serve mamas even more?
Well, so that's the exciting part of our program. So about 4 years ago, actually during the pandemic. So our in-person gatherings and our support system that we had built was kind of fallen apart because of COVID, right? We couldn't be in person anymore. The gym that we were using that was handed to me was closing its doors. There was just a lot of things happening. And so we kind of said, okay, we're going to have to pivot. We're going to have to change some things. And so over the pandemic, I really started to do some research on postpartum depression, really understanding what other countries do to support their moms, and then what the United States doesn't do to support their moms. And I started like putting all the correlation. Then I started looking at the mental health of those countries that support their moms. So you've got Europe and Asia and Canada and Australia who truly do what's right for moms, whether it be financially, whether it be in their careers, or whether it just be the support that they get as a mom from the government and or the community and or their family members. But it really came to my heart to realize that we don't do anything in this country. And it used to be that moms mothered in a village, right? For me, I grew up in northern Michigan with my dad, his 3 siblings, and my grandmother all living in the same town. So all of my 9 cousins, we all grew up together, right? We all were in the same community. We had that support for each other. Well, we live in Colorado and there's nobody here from Colorado. Like that's
right.
kind of the joke, right? Everybody comes to Colorado because it's such a great place. However, we don't have our family, we don't have our people, we don't have our community. So that's why we did the support mom part, right? Where we'd give them a community. But I thought, you know what? It's not enough. We're not doing enough. We got to do something more. And how do we get moms right from the beginning of motherhood? How do we start from the beginning? Because our support program was great, but it was usually moms of preschoolers. Well, that's 3 years into it, right? No. We got to get them from the beginning. So I created a new program and it's called Strong Mamas, Thriving Babies. And this program is a hospital-based program where every single mom who gives birth is given a full year of wraparound support. So it is free to them. It is 100% connected with the hospital. So we have a partnership with the hospital. So we give these moms, number one, we piloted this program here in Highlands Ranch at UC Health Highlands Ranch, January 30th of 2024 of this year. It was a 4-year process to get that contract. And let me tell you, it was arduous and painful and expensive, but we made it happen. And so we got this contract. We started January 30th and we have seen every single mom who has given birth at UC Health Highlands Ranch since January 30th. So when we sat down to make this contract, the head of women's was like, okay, so we need to put some metrics to this, right? So let's say 70%. And I just sat there and went, how about 100? And she's like, Nikki, that's not really realistic. Like, we're not going to hit 100% of moms. And I was like, you don't know me. Yes, we will. And we've hit 100% of moms. We've not missed one. So that's really something I'm proud of and something I'm going to strive for with every hospital we work with. But we literally walk into the mom's room between giving birth and being discharged. So we try to do as close to discharge as possible, but we walk in there and we present our program. And then it's myself and my employee, Savannah. That's just the 2 of us so far. We will be hiring at some point, but we are grant funded. That's another thing I need to really explain is that we are grant funded from ARPA funds, which is the Emergency Rescue Act that came through to the states in response to COVID. And we were awarded by Douglas County part of one of their grants that they created. So thanks to Douglas County, we're able to do this for free for the moms and pilot it with the hospitals for free for 2024. So that's huge. 2025 is a whole nother ballgame, and we're working towards, the partnerships with the hospitals for funding for that. And we're grant searching and grant writing and doing all of that as well. But truly, our program walks into the hospital room and we say to the moms, hey, we're here for you and we care about you. And our program is peer-led, 100% mom to mom. It's peer. And that's something I really want them to understand, that we are not nurses. We are not social workers. We are not CPS who wants to take your kids away. We literally are moms who say we care about you. That's what how AA works, right? AA, you don't put a police officer in the AA meetings and you don't put a social worker in our meetings, because this is all peer-led. And so we give them the basic spiel of the program, and then we register them right there in the hospital room while they're sitting there. And then we say, you'll get a bunch of emails. You get to go home, be with baby, and get our emails, and then sign up for what parts work for you. it's a 4-part program. So the first part is that one-on-one touchstone that we have with the moms in the hospital. The second part is an app that we have on the App Store that only our moms in our program can be a part of. And that's one of the beauties of it, because we vet every single person who registers for the app. We make sure that they're one of the moms in our program. So these moms feel it's a safe space, right? They know it's not just Joe Schmo walking in off the street, jumping in on this app. This is literally just moms. And they can chat with each other, plan play dates. There's a calendar of events. There's discussion rooms, but it's just a safe space to be with all the other moms. Another part of our program are in-person gatherings. They get to come back to the hospital the month after they give birth and be with all the moms who gave birth in the same month. So we are literally handing them a village of moms. We're saying, here you go. All these moms are going through the same thing you are. And they get those gatherings 4 weeks in a row. And we have community experts coming in. We just had one last week. Unfortunately, we had to move it to Zoom because of the snowstorm. We got a giant snowstorm last week, and we had to do it. But it actually worked out great. We had 4 experts come in and talk to the moms, and the moms were just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I knew you were going to hand us some resources, but we didn't realize it was going to be this awesome. So they were really excited about it too. Next week will be in person, and we have 4 more experts coming in, and they're all excited about that too. So then the last part of our program, our moms are offered phone calls at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months postpartum. And again, those are peer-led phone calls. Just a mama calling up and saying, hey, how are you? We have all these resources. How can we help you or support you? Again, ways that you can volunteer with Yana is we're looking for mom callers who are interested in making those calls. We do have a training for you to go through. We have, we're working on all of that right now. So we just have a list that we're building of moms who want to make those phone calls. But yeah, our program is changing the world one mom at a time, because we're giving them generational change in mental health. You know, when you look at these countries and you look at what they give their moms and their mental health, and then you look at our country and we don't support our moms, and you look at our mental health crisis that we have, we believe there's a correlation, because if you don't support the people who create the people, that's when we fall. And we have been falling for years. So it's time to stand back up.
Amazing. Yeah. And again, this peer-led thing to me feels like such an important idea. And I was listening to a podcast on some parenting stuff the other day, and they're talking about how we parents are kind of giving all of our power to this idea of therapists. Now, not that therapists like don't have a place in the world, you know,
absolutely,
of course, important things, but you know, this, and she acknowledged if your child has real trauma, then yes, they need a therapist.
Yes.
But I think, especially I feel like millennials, maybe our bar for trauma has come down a little too low. And she says, your kids don't need therapists. You know what they need? Grandparents who will love them for a long, long time. They need aunts and uncles and basically like these people who just love you for being you, who are maybe not trained in anything, but they can see you. And there's something to me in like the idea of being seen just by another person who's not looking at you through a professional lens, like you're a project. Is like, no, I'm a mom, you're a mom, you've been through it, I've been through it. We have our own kinds of traumas, and we can share those together.
I couldn't agree more. And have, you know, we call that in our world, in our family, we call that framily, because it's friends that we've made into family, right? So it's our framily. And we created a huge framily for my kids as the years went on, because we didn't have aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, and sisters right around us. And so it was one of those, like, we have to create our own. And so they don't have to be blood related. Those aunts and uncles do not have to be blood related. They can absolutely just be people you've created in your life to be your family that you've made. And I couldn't agree more.
And there's something else that I love about what you're up to here is, you know, I think I love living in Highlands Ranch. It's a beautiful place, and it feels like this really safe, wonderful bubble. One of the issues I see with Highlands Ranch is that we all kind of live in these, you know, these beautiful homes with beautiful backyards, and we all pull into the garage. We close that garage, and then we close ourselves off and we hang out in our private backyards. And like, I love my private backyard. You know, it's why we bought our home. And we're very isolated. It's easy to kind of live in this suburban isolation. And I think that's something that I'd like to change. And part of why I, you know, wanted to do this podcast. And I see you just like creating this community among women. It's incredible. So I want to just acknowledge you and say thanks for doing that.
Thanks, Jake. And you're absolutely right. It's funny because we lived here for 8 years, had 2 kids. And this comes later when you're asking about my mama journey.
Let's dive into it.
Let's just dive into that. So we had 2 kids, and I'm old, right? So my kids were born in 2000 and 2003, and then again in 2007. But in 2000 and 2003, we didn't really have, we had the internet, but it wasn't what it is today, right? I don't even know if Facebook was created yet. And so you didn't have that way to connect with moms. Meetup wasn't a thing. And I remember having these 2 babies, no family here at all, tons of friends, tons of acquaintances. None of them had kids, not one. We were the first of any of our friend groups to have kids. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going to have to figure this out by ourselves. I went to the rec center. I just wanted to make friends. I literally went, I'll never forget this. I'm walking through the rec center with my stroller, just looking around like, I just want to make a friend. I just need a mom. There was nobody there. And I was like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And so it really, and I'm I'm a pretty extroverted kind of person. I love being social. I love being with friends. I have a ton of different friends groups. And I was lost. I was really frustrated. And I was teaching part-time at a charter school in Jefferson County. And it was a great job, and I had great coworkers, and I loved my job. But I loved being a mom more, and I didn't know how to balance all of that. And so then my husband came home, and he was working for Lockheed Martin at the time. And he still does, actually, but he was working for Lockheed, and he was kind of stagnant in his position at the time. His boss wasn't his favorite person, and kept kind of squishing him. And he was like, I'm never going to get anywhere with this guy. Like, he just doesn't see my potential. And so he was trying to figure out what he was going to do. And he said, we could move closer to family if that would help. And I was like, okay, that sounds amazing. Well, both of our families, we're from Northern Michigan. Both of our families are in Michigan. Like, both, all the cousins, everybody. And I was like, okay, are we moving to Michigan? He's like, well, there's no aerospace in Michigan. There's very little aerospace in Michigan. So unless I'm moving to the automotive industry, which I have no interest in, I think it might be Cleveland, Ohio. And I was like, okay, sounds great. Like, again, now we're moving someplace we don't know anybody. We don't have a community, but we're closer, quote unquote, to family. I'm like, okay. So we moved to Cleveland, Ohio, because there's actually a NASA facility right in Cleveland, which most people don't know. But so anyway, he went to work there, and so we moved to this little suburb outside of Cleveland. And I remember walking through the house, because coming from Colorado, like, the house prices are insane, right? And so we walked through this house, and it's got like, a beautiful custom kitchen, and it's a full fit. It was just the most beautiful house. And I walked in, and I was like, we can't afford this. And he leans over and he goes, not only can we afford this, you can stay home. And I was like, what? Like, what are you saying? And so I was like, we're in. So we moved to Ohio Thanksgiving weekend. Okay. If you know anything about the Midwest, and you know anything about that time of year, talk about open a garage, pull a car in, close the garage. You never see a human being, because it's freezing cold, and the sun does not come out, and it is gray, and oh my gosh, talk about depression. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, we made a huge mistake. We moved here, and now I have no friends, and it's gray all the time, and the sun doesn't shine. But I love my house. Well, I found a community, in that community, that just blew me away. They had a club called the Preschool Parents Club, Avon Preschool Parents Club. And I walked in, I'll never forget it. I walked in, and they have like 250 members. And I walked into the meeting, and I was like, I found my people. My people. I was so excited. And so literally engulfed myself in that. I started a babysitting co-op. You name it, I did it. I was involved in the PTA and all the things. And I found my community. I found my people. Because I was a stay-at-home mom, I found them. It was amazing. It was great. But the story I tell too about this is kind of funny. My husband went to the University of Michigan. He's a diehard Wolverines fan. You will not find somebody with more school spirit than this man. He got his master's and his bachelor's from the University of Michigan. And here we are living in Ohio. If you know anything about that, it was rough, and he couldn't fly his flag, and he couldn't really wear his Michigan gear, and it was rough. And so we were at a party, And we had our third baby in 2007. And he's a little tiny itty tyke in the carrier, and he was sleeping. And a friend of ours looks at us and goes, "Oh, look, now you got yourself a little Buckeye." And my husband looked at me and said, "Put the house on the market. We're out of here." And literally 30 days later, we moved back to Colorado because he was like, "I will not have a Buckeye." So my son was born in Ohio, but he's not allowed to tell people that if my husband's around. So we moved back, and then I knew how to create a community. I knew how to do it. So I did it. We moved to Highlands Ranch. When we lived here before, we lived in Littleton. We moved to Highlands Ranch because I wanted the rec centers. I wanted to be on a cul-de-sac. I wanted to be with all the kids. And I'll tell you what, we moved to a cul-de-sac with 24 children on it. 24
Amazing.
children lived on our cul-de-sac. And I was like, we hit the jackpot. We hit the jackpot. And it was one of those, like, people were just coming left and right to meet us and play with the kids. And we built this amazing family in their cul-de-sac. And it was exactly what I always wanted for my kids, and they got it. So it was a really great place to bring up kids. But it's funny that you say that, because I have noticed, and I think the pandemic did it to people. I really do. People got scared. People got nervous. People freaked out. We all could die over this pandemic. Like, it was a big deal. And so people became more hermit-ish in that, okay, we're going to close the doors, close the blinds, close the garage, and just kind of do our own thing. And it's getting a little better. I think it's starting to kind of open. People are starting to open up a little bit more. But I get where you're going with that. And I will tell you, it was rough. It was rough when there was not a community around. So I commend what you're doing to try to get people out of those houses a little bit more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And my wife and I, so we kind of cashed in our cool card in 2018 and moved from Denver and in kind of some hipper areas to be in Highlands Ranch. And that, all of our friends were still in Denver. And so we get married in 2019. So we spent that whole year kind of in the clouds, planning a wedding. And then we went on a honeymoon, and then we come back from the honeymoon and bam, it's pandemic time. And we're starting our family in the middle of that, thinking like, oh no. And, so we stayed shut up for a couple of years, and, we blink and we have another kid, and we're like, wow, we can't go. It's so hard to go visit our friends in Denver.
Yeah.
We hold on to those relationships the best we can, and we need local friendships.
Yep.
And so we've taken it upon ourselves to just start accosting people who look cool. Like I introduced myself to some people at the grocery store. They were a cute family with a little girl, gosh. And amazing. Like, hey, you guys need friends? We need friends. And that's our line. It's like, hey, do you have friends?
That's amazing. I love that so much. And now knowing your wife a little bit that I know, she is like, you guys are the perfect couple for that, because you're not weird and creepy, and you're just truly just humans who need human interaction and are like, we have a small child and we're not going to go out and party till 2 a.m. But we'd rather like to have you over and, have a beer and play some cards or whatever. Right. And just like, and I think that's fantastic. Go for a walk, do something with our families. And I think that's amazing. So I commend you for saying, hey, you look like a nice family. You're not kind of weird. You want to be friends?
Yeah. And to our fellow Highlands ranchers out there, I would just say, my wife is so good at this. And what she does is just acknowledges, this is going to sound a little weird and maybe a little forward, but hey, we need friends. Do you have friends?
Do you need friends?
And the reactions we've gotten have been delightful for the most part. People are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I absolutely need some more friends. Who's going to say like, nah, I don't really need more friends. Most people, I don't know. Most people don't say that.
Yeah. So it's funny, at our very first, so we had our first in-person gatherings for the Strong Mamas program, first week of March. And I was so nervous and I was so excited, because this is something like when you plan for something for like 4 years and you have something in your head, you're like, oh, please let it be something close to this. Like, this is what I have in mind, right? This is what I want it to look like. And this is how I want it to go. And it could not have gone any better. It was exactly the way I wanted it to go. And so we went around the room and each mom got to say like who they are, what their, how old their baby, like when their baby was born, which means, and they're all within the same month. So we figured out who was the oldest and who was the youngest of the group. We're talking like 4 weeks here. It's not like a big deal, but But it was kind of fun and they were excited about that. And then I said, I want each of you to say what you wish to receive from today. What is it that you want to receive from today? The first mom was like, friends. I just want friends. I just want people who get it. Like, I just need friends. And then every single person around the room was like, yep, what she said. I want friends. And then one of them said, and I need friends for my husband. Anybody's husband want to be friends with my husband? Because he has no friends. And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted for these moms. So I totally get that. I get what you're saying. Like, and it's hard. It's so hard to make friends as an adult. That's one thing a lot of people say to me a lot is like, where do you find friends when your kids aren't in school? So you're not making friends with their friends,
You're
parents,
too tired
right?
to go to the bar. You don't go to the bar
Who the
anymore.
heck wants to go to a bar? No, thank you. In fact, I was at a bar, funny story. I was at a bar last night because my daughter turned 21 yesterday on St. Patrick's Day. And so I went down to the Springs and took all of her friends out for dinner and happy hour. And she had her first legal drink. And we did all of the things. And of course, the bar was starting to fill up when we were starting to, wrap it up and leave. And I just kind of looked around and went, oh, God, just the idea of being here to look for a possible friend or mate. I'm like, oh, God, no. So anyway, that's kind of funny because I got no energy. I have no energy for that.
Yeah. But I think you touched on something important. In a lot of my men's work I've done in the past, especially in the beginning, the first, I do a camping trip. I once used to call it a retreat, but in my first iteration of it, how I got a lot of men to attend was I texted their wives or their girlfriends. And I was like, hey, your husband, your boyfriend, a man in your life who needs this. This is what it's going to be like. Please send them.
I love that.
And I got that. Like men, we tend to be a little more isolated. And going back to that, the tribe that we used to all live in, we were kind of all forced. We would have to leave the tribe to go hunt together.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I think we still need that. And, since we don't have a built-in hunting tribe,
right.
Our women really have to force us into that and be like, hey, you need friends, get out there. And so, by the way, I have a men's group. If anybody ever wants to attend, hit me up at info@highlandsrantpodcast.com. I'll get you
I
involved.
love that. And when you said that, and that's one of the things we had planned to talk about too, is the dad part of this. So our program, like I said, is piloted, right? We just started January 30th. This is our pilot year. We are starting at Parker Advent in May 16th. If all the contracts go through, as it looks like they're going to be just fine, but the contract is with our lawyer right now to look through their red lines. But it looks like May 16th is probably pretty accurate of when we will start there. And yes, we have plans to expand into so many other areas after we get this rolling and get it going. We think we're going to expand quicker than we think we were going to, because it's catching on real quick. And we have a 93% acceptance rate of moms. When we walk in and give them the program, 93% of them say, yes, please. And we sign them up. So we think it's, and every hospital we've been talking to is very excited to get started with us. So that being said, when we, have this down and we have the pilot program going and the KPIs are all addressed and all of the things, we do plan to expand and we want to do a dad's group. We want to do a program for dads. And like you said, it'll have to filter through the moms. Let's be real. We definitely want to do that. We'd love to do a sibling thing where siblings get to be part of something too, because they've been displaced as the baby, right? And now they're trying to learn their space in the family. And that's huge too. And so there's a lot of things that, and again, giving them friends, right? Look, now you have friends. Right. It's funny because when we go in and talk to the moms and we present the program in the hospital, I always ask them, is this baby number 1, 2, 5? Like, where are we at here? And there's a lot of first-time moms, but there's a lot of second-time moms, a lot of them. And I'll say, oh, great. How old is your first one? 2.5, anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5. Like that's the age, right? Which was exactly what we were too when we had our first two, is at 2.5. About 2.5 is when you start thinking about having or three is when you're starting to think about having, you're having the second one. And I was like, and every time I'm like, oh, we need to have a support. We need to have something for these kids, right? So there's lots of things in the works and plans to do more. We just have to get this pilot under the control. But that dads have a huge part in this. And it's also interesting when I go in and present, a lot of times there's lots of family members in the room. Sometimes some grandparents, a lot of times the partner or husband. And as I'm presenting this, some of the dads say, "Do you have something for dads?" I had one guy say, "Do you have anything for grandpas?"
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's
Turns
down
out
the
this
line.
is hard on all of us, right?
Turns out parenthood is not just about moms. I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. We just, our second daughter is 3 months old. And, speaking with a friend recently, it was like, he just had his first child and, 6, 7, 8 months in, something like that, really just struggling. And, we just have to remember, oh yeah, this is hard. And this is the beginning. And we're still getting used to this and we're still figuring it out. And of course it's hard.
Yep.
But I feel like having the second one, I haven't given myself a lot of grace because I forget that it's still new. Like you were saying a while back, that it's still new to have two.
Yep.
And even though I already know a lot of the stuff,
sure,
and I've been through it before, there's still a whole new element to it. And it's really easy to be hard on myself and think, oh, why don't I have this?
Why don't
am
I
I
have
not
this?
figuring this?
Absolutely. But number one, I don't know about you, but the older I get, the worse my memory is, right? So I forget about things. I forget that, that we need to worry about that, or we need to think about that, or we need to buy that, or there's a lot that I forgot between kids. And my oldest and my youngest are 7 years apart. So I forgot a lot from the first to the last. But what you don't give yourself grace on, like you said, is the fact that, I've never done this with two others at home. When I did 3, I was like, I've never done that, right? And so it's a completely different dichotomy of the family. Now we've created a middle child, which I will tell you, I know one of your stories or one of your questions is a book that I've read. The best book that I read as a parent was The Birth Order Blues. And the reason I read it was because I was finding my kids were struggling in different ways after I had the third one. And I was trying to figure it all out. And somebody said, you know what, read this book. It might help you. And I read this book and I remember sitting there reading it going, did they interview my children for this? Like, oh my gosh, they are textbook birth order kids. Like my oldest, exactly what they say in the book. My middle, exactly what. And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense. The other thing that really helped me as well with the parenting thing, and don't get me wrong, they're 23, 21, and almost 17. I'm not done yet, right? We're still going to parent forever. But what I found was when I did my master's degree, I did my master's in adult education and development. Again, plan to be a teacher forever. So I went to Regis, got my master's. My plan was to get my PhD, and I wanted to be a professor at Metro State, actually, and teach teachers how to teach. That's what I really thought that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Never got the PhD because I had 3 kids instead. But when I got my master's degree, at Regis, they said, pick a topic that really interests you, because for the 18 months of this master's program, it was a very accelerated program. In the 18 months you're in this program, you're going to do everything with that topic. You're going to do presentations, you're going to do papers, you're going to do all the things. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. Okay, what really interests me? And what really interested me was the difference between the male and the female brain. And I really wanted to delve into that. So I did. For 18 months, I did. And I learned, I'd come home and I'd be like, oh, honey, I owe you another apology. And he's like, oh, good. What now? Right? Now, keep in mind, my husband and I have been together since I was 12 and he was 15. We've been together our whole lives.
Wow.
Yeah. 12 and 15 is when we met, and we've been together ever since 1987. Now you all know how old I am. But so I said the biggest thing I learned when I was doing all this research was there's a corpus callosum in the middle of your brain. It is the bridge that attaches and allows the left and the right hemispheres to speak to each other. And it allows us to do different things. The male's corpus callosum is a third the size of a female's corpus callosum. So what that means...
That's why we can't multitask, right?
What that means is it is physiologically improbable, not impossible, improbable for men to be able to multitask. It is actually physiologically not your fault that you can't. Now, I say that to most men, and the first thing they do is get defensive because I'm pointing out a deficiency, quote unquote. And that's not what I'm doing. Just because it's different does not make it better or worse. However, what you can do, and we cannot, is laser focus on one thing at a time. Right. And if you talk to any woman, they will tell you, oh my gosh, I wish I could. I wish I could laser focus on one thing like you guys can. And the example that I give this talk a lot. I've done it for the John Elway dealerships. I've done it for a bunch of chambers of commerce. I do this talk on the difference between the male and the female brain. And this is the biggest one, right? And I say to them, this is the example I give. So I've got baby on a hip, right? I'm stirring dinner. I got 2 other kids running around. The phone rings and the doorbell rings. And my husband, and I always make the joke that he's probably watching Michigan football, but he is literally like laser focused on the TV and he's watching whatever it is he's watching very intently. And I say, hey, dude, could you get the door? And he goes, would the doorbell ring? Like literally didn't hear it. Okay. It's not selective hearing. He truly didn't hear it because he was laser focused on that one thing. He had no idea the phone was ringing. He had no idea, probably I was cooking dinner. He had no idea the baby's crying and he didn't know that the doorbell rang. It's not his fault. It's just because he could literally be engulfed in one thing at a time. Women's brains are like Medusa that never stop going and the phone call is connected to the bills that wasn't paid, that was connected to my job or his job that is connected to somehow my mother-in-law that, it just never ends. Right.
Yeah. I've heard that women are spaghetti, men are meatballs.
That's exactly
spaghetti
right.
Flows together.
Yep.
We just one thing at a time.
It couldn't be more accurate. And it's not a deficiency. And that's one thing I always have to tell men. I'm not saying you're not as good as us. I'm saying you're better at other things. You're better at laser focusing. I wish I could laser focus on one thing.
Well, it's good to remember these things in a marriage.
Uh-huh.
Well, Nikki, tell us, how can our listeners support Yana? What do you need? How can we donate?
Oh, well, what do we need? Well, we're actually starting kind of a little campaign to start trying to find corporate sponsorships. It's funny because when you think about what kind of corporations would be a perfect fit for us, I want you to come up with one business out there that's just for moms. You can't, right? So you think everybody's like, well, you should go to Pampers. Who's that for? Babies.
Everybody.
You should go to formula companies. Who's that for? Babies. You should go, everything's for babies, right? There's not a lot going on for moms. That's just for moms. So anyway, we're looking for corporate sponsorships that make sense. We're always interested in volunteers. If you have any interest in volunteering for us, we have a great page on our website built by Savannah, my assistant program director. And it's really, there's some options on there. You can be a support mom. You can ask for support. We have a general volunteer sheet that just says, I don't know what I can do, but let me know when you have an event, or I'm happy to help here or there. We have a podcast called Let's Be Real Mama Journeys. You can find it on our website. You can also find it on Spotify and all the places, Apple and iHeartRadio, all those things. But it's really, we interview moms about their mama journeys and tell us more about your story, because the more we tell each other's stories, we tell our stories, the more we support other moms that they go, oh my gosh, I am not alone. Which is the whole point, right? It's called Yana for a reason, standing for You Are Not Alone. And we are all about making sure every mom feels safe, valued, accepted. Donations can be made right on our website. There's a button that says donate here. All of our donations go through the Colorado Gives Foundation. So they sometimes match. Companies go on there and match. So that's been great too. We are an available nonprofit for if you have a big company and you do nonprofit matching. So like I know Comcast does something. There's a couple different ones out there. There's a lot of different companies that do that kind of program where they can automatically just donate right to our nonprofit. We're happy to go through the steps to be one of those. So yeah, and then grant opportunities. If you know of grant opportunities, we're always looking for ones that we will qualify for to expand this program. We want to make sure every mom everywhere gets this support. We would love to be statewide in 10 years. Advent Health has been amazing and very, very supportive. So they have 55 nationwide hospitals. We'll see where that goes. But we want to make sure every mom is safe, valued, and accepted and gets the support they deserve, especially in a community, in a country where we close the garage and we're not coming out, and we need people to find each other and we want to give them each other. So, we're happy. And if you have other funding opportunities or funny ideas, we're all ears. So, but I appreciate the question. But volunteering is a huge part of it as well. So we would appreciate all of that.
And if you decide to do a donation online, I would encourage you to do a monthly recurring donation just to create some sustainability. Something not every nonprofit needs is just reliable funding.
Yes.
So that's always appreciated.
Very much so.
Thanks for sharing that. So, and now tell me I got a couple questions just about you at the end here. Tell me, what do you do for fun, and what do you do to take care of yourself?
What do I do for fun? Well, I love
starting nonprofits.
Yeah, start nonprofits and support groups. So I'm one of those people. I go to the gym every single day, and I do that for my own mental health. Honestly, physical and mental. But I go to a phenomenal gym here in Highlands Ranch called Spenga. It's 20 minutes of spin, 20 minutes of strength, and 20 minutes of yoga, and it is literally the best workout ever because you get it all done in 1 hour and feel totally whole. Anybody ever wants to go with me, I'm happy to take you. It is that's one thing that I love to do. I love to road bike. I'm a biker. I love to swim. I did triathlons for a while, but the running part is not for me. I need a full knee replacement, and I'm ignoring it at the moment. So we're pretending I don't need that for now because I'm too young. So I love to be active. I love to be outside with my family, with my dog. We have a support dog or a therapy dog for the nonprofit. His name is Brady, and he's a big part of our lives. And he goes with me pretty much everywhere I go. And I love being social. I love hanging out with my friends. I love to listen to book on tape. I like to say I like to read, but I don't because I fall asleep within 5 minutes. So I listen to everything. And I love that too. And so, that's how I recharge and spending time with my family, obviously, taking my daughter out for her 21st birthday. All the fun things.
Awesome. And then aside from a corporate sponsor, what's one connection you could use in the world right now? Personal, professional, whatever you like.
That's funny you asked that because I was reading through that and I was like, geez, I don't know. It's funny because I'm often called the mayor of Highlands Ranch because I know a lot of people, and anywhere I go, I run into people I know. I think that when the right person is supposed to be in front of me, that connection will be made. It's interesting because I do a lot of networking, a lot. We're in 3 different chambers of commerce, and that's a lot of coffees and a lot of happy hours and a lot of networking. And I do a lot of networking. And every time I go to a networking event that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I just want to put my sweats on and sit at home. And, I say do nothing, but I always have my laptop on I'm always working. But I don't know if I have it in me today. And I go and I make that connection that is meant to be made every single time. And I come home and my husband's like, who'd you meet today? And it's kind of the joke that I'm going to make a connection somewhere. So I do believe that connections are made when they're meant to be made. We are having a fundraiser in May called Mimosas for Mamas. It's a breakfast event the Thursday before Mother's Day. So it's May 9th, and it's at the Village Workspace in Centennial, which is kitty corner from Topgolf. Phenomenal place. It's actually where our mailbox, and that's where we do a lot of meetings and things. Anyway, in their event center, we're having this, and we are looking for an MC for that. We're looking for a big name who wants to come in and be the MC. We're going to have some feel-good stories. We're going to have breakfast and mimosas, and it's a fundraiser for the nonprofit. So I'm looking for that as well. So that's probably the connection I'd be asking for.
Awesome. Thanks for making that request.
Yes.
And then we got your favorite book,
Yep.
An impactful book. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of advice I can think of is this life is short. This life is in a blink of an eye. And, I'm turning 50 this year, which just saying it made my heart like skip a beat because I'm like, oh, how is that even possible? I can't even fathom that I'm going to be 50. And in one breath, I'm so proud of the family we've created and the life we have and what I'm hopefully creating in this world. But on the other hand, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much more to do. I have so much more I want to do. Right. And I know it's not a death sentence turning 50, for God's sakes. I still have lots of years, but I think living every day as though it's a gift is truly, really, it's such a cliche, and it's one of those things people say all the time. But, we just had this tragedy right by your house, actually, that the 13-year-old boy was unfortunately hit by a car, and it rocked my world in a lot of ways, because unfortunately I was connected to that too. But it really is in the blink of an eye, and it all could be taken away. So enjoy every second, make the connections to make this world a better place, and know that if you make just a small difference in this world, the ripple effect of that could be ginormous. So make the ripple. There's my advice. Make the ripple.
Awesome. Nikki, thank you so much. It's been amazing having you here today. Tell us one more time where everyone can find out more about you and hear your podcast.
So thank you so much for having me. This is so awesome. And I love that you've created this for Highlands Ranch. It's funny. One more story I have to tell you. It's funny. I went down to Colorado Springs to meet with my daughter, and we went and got our nails done. And I'm at the nail salon, and the guy said, well, you from here? And I said, no, I live up by Denver. And he was like, where by Denver? Like Lone Tree? I was like, no, I didn't think he would know, what that was. And I said, Highlands Ranch. He goes, oh, where all the rich people are. And I was like, oh, no, it's not where all the rich. Yes, we have wealth in this community. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? We have Joe Schmo in this community as well. And it's okay to not be in that category. And it just, I was like, no, that's why I didn't say Highlands Ranch, because I knew you'd have some kind of thing to say. But I love what you're building. I love what you're creating. I think it's so important. And I thank you. People can find us at yanamom.com. So it's YANAMOM.com. So yanamom.com. All of our information is there. You can also email us at info@yanamom.com, and we reach right back out to you. So if you have any questions or concerns or want to know how you can get involved, we're happy to help you.
Awesome. And then Get Real Mama Journeys.
Let's Be Real Mama Journeys.
Let's Be Real Mama Journeys.
Let's Be Real Mama Journeys. And check our podcast out. Give it a listen. And if you want to be interviewed and tell us your story, it's super simple. We do a 30-minute segment. I give you the questions ahead of time. I promise it's just a conversation with me. It's super simple and fun. So,
fellas, give it a listen as well.
Yes.
I know your wife is right there next to you, but it's amazing how easy it is to forget everything that they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So important to remember those things and hear what mom's going through.
Yep.
And what other moms are going through, because all those other moms, your wife's probably experiencing that too. So
yep.
I listened to an episode this morning, and I thought it was awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks so much again, Nikki. Loved having you today, and can't wait to connect with you further.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.